Hey, this is Andrew here at the Thomas Hail and Wind Claim, taking a look at the roof. Just gathering some video evidence after reading through the engineer's report. Just wanted to add some more context to his findings. So we'll take a look here. Now, as you can see, the engineer's report stated that there were multiple toe board installations on these very steep portions of the roof. We'll see them right here and we'll go over them. Start right here. So not in disagreement whatsoever with the engineer's deduction that toe board installation is what caused a lot of these characteristic creases here. So what happens is when roofers are up on these very steep slopes, they're gonna install 2x4s. What they'll do is they'll have some type of device here that will hold the 2x4 and they'll place it like so that they can actually step on the 2x4 and it will leave behind sometimes some crease lines. You can see there's not really any right here, but it is pretty prevalent along this roof. So we'll follow this same row here with my finger, and you'll see another one right there. We'll get closer up to it. So that would be another toe board installation right there. All right. Got a lot actually on this slope, very steep slope. So of course they're gonna use the toe boards to install the shingle. So right here, you'll see about the size of a piece of wood laid this way so that they can step on it. And in the same row, toe board, toe board. Get a little bit closer so you can see it right here, right? And it's actually, like I said, pretty prevalent along this slope as well. There may be one in the same row here, right there. You might not be able to see it very well in the video, or right there, I'm sorry. Okay, the thing is, oh, and then right here, toe board, same row, toe board. Okay, thing is, you'll notice that these are still sealed, right? So again, they're laying the board on top of this shingle. They're not going underneath it. They're not gonna have to reseal it for whatever reason because the board lays on top. Now these overlapping shingles may have been lifted up during the initial installation, but not these shingles that the board laid on as the engineer identified. Okay, now when we're looking at something like this shingle right here, which is unbonded, you have to be very careful because when I lift this shingle, you can see it's unbonded, but it is so fragile that if I were to pull hard enough, this shingle will break. So the question is, just because this shingle were damaged mechanically during installation because of the installation of a toe board, if it were damaged after the fact by a covered peril, high winds, and the shingle were to break off, would this shingle be denied coverage because it was initially cosmetically damaged by toe board installation? Objectively, the answer is no. Covered peril damaged the shingle so that it was no longer in this condition, pre-loss condition, and now the shingle is missing. No longer pre-loss condition due to a covered peril, therefore the shingle is covered. That's what the policy covers, right? So the insured is claiming that although this shingle was left in, we'll say, sealed before the loss, after the loss, the high winds, which broke the bonding strip, this crease line has gotten worse. It's become exacerbated due to those high winds. And eventually, when this shingle breaks off, it will likely be due to high winds that will no longer be in pre-loss condition. Now, the shingle hasn't broken yet, but still, objectively, that crease line has gotten worse, has become exacerbated because it's been constantly lifted up by high winds, and the bonding strip was broken initially because of high winds. So, again, if these creases were here during installation, so be it, mechanical damage, but that doesn't disqualify the shingle from any further damage caused by a covered peril. It was in one condition before the loss, it's in worse off condition because of a covered peril, because of the loss. Same thing can be said for this shingle right here. And you can see this specific shingle in the engineer's photo report. He's got pictures underneath here where you can see the bonding strips, right? Now this is the same story. This shingle is so brittle that if I were to pull hard enough, it would snap right off. Look at the line right here. I don't know any 2x4 that has a diagonal shape to it, but you can tell that that crease line is diagonal. It's been exacerbated by being constantly lifted up and put back down, and lifted up and put back down by a covered peril, i.e. wind, which is what the insured is claiming. None of these other toe board lines are as significant as this because they haven't been unbonded by high winds. It may have looked one way from the toe board installation initially, but it looks worse now, and it has less wind shedding capability now because of a covered peril, which is what the insured is claiming. Again, we're not disagreeing with the engineer on his deduction that these crease lines initially may have been caused by the toe boards being installed so they could get these shingles on here. But what caused the shingle to unbond? Again, when we're installing toe boards, we're not gonna go underneath there, we're gonna put the board on top. What caused them to unbond, and what caused this diagonal crease line that has gotten consistently worse? And I think what really puts things into context here is eventually this shingle will break off after being agitated again and again by high winds, lifted up, put back down. Eventually it will break off. Will this shingle be excluded from coverage because initially it was creased but not unbonded? Therefore, the wind is not damaging this, not unbonded from that initial toe board installation. It was in one condition before the loss. Now it is in worse off condition because of the covered peril. No longer pre-loss condition.